problem. Today I'm going to continue the discussion on vulnerability, because I've had some major revelations over the last week, and I've had some awesome conversations with some of my friends and people that I've met over the last week regarding vulnerability. So it's an awesome topic, and my mission once again is to teach women to live in freedom and in truth. And part of that freedom and truth that we're trying to embrace on requires us to open ourselves up to be able to receive the love and the happiness and the relationships that we're supposed to be encountering. And part of that requires us to be willing to expose ourselves, to be able to open ourselves up, to be vulnerable, to possibly and that vulnerability to most is fearful, and it's a little frightening. But as we shared last week, vulnerability is the key to your freedom. Because when you make a decision that you're going to share yourself with the world without any limitations, without any fears, without any reservations, that's when you truly begin to live. And last week we discussed a little bit about how most of the times when we think about vulnerability, we think of it and we relate it to the male-female relationship. But this week, I want to expand the conversation, because I've had some situations this week come back to my remembrance where some of my most vulnerable moments weren't actually in a romantic relationship, but they were in other types of relationships. Sometimes they were relationships with my coworkers, sometimes they were relationships with my family members, and but still the same, they all required me to be willing to expose a part of myself, or to release things that were near and dear to me, to release any reservations I had in order to be able to maximize that relationship. And I've been working on this project for a couple of weeks, and it took me back to some of my journals, and I realized that in places where I thought I was transparent, where I always consider myself a real down-to-earth person, what you see is what you get. But in reading my journals, I realized that I am a very guarded person. You know, I love hard. I'm very loyal, but in that, I've been hurt. I've been disappointed. So sometimes it has required me to so sometimes me being guarded is the result of the broken relationships that I've had, the times that people have hurt me, the times that I've given to people and they haven't returned the same things that I desired of them, the times that they've misunderstood me and they've gotten angry at me. And so as a form of protection for myself, I unknowingly sometimes put up walls, and I wouldn't let people in only but so far. And at this point in my life, I am so passionate about taking down the walls, about teaching women and men, but primarily women, how we can't not get what we want. We cannot get the true things that God has for us unless we first acknowledge those walls. And me, I didn't even know I had walls up in certain areas. I thought it was just a part of my personality. You know, when I was done with you, I would cut you off and I wouldn't even look back. But in my studies, I've realized that that's a wall, and that's not a good thing to do. And that in order to overcome that, I have to surrender to being vulnerable. And these walls have kept me from not only relationships, but they've also kept me from doing things in my life that I tried to accomplish. I would try to start projects and I would get frustrated and I would get upset, or I would hit a roadblock and I would get a feeling, a familiar feeling, and I wouldn't surrender to those feelings. I would just quit. You know, I'm like, this is too hard. I'm not doing this. This is for the birds. I'll do this later. And for me, sleep was a lot of times the way I got out of surrendering to vulnerability. I would just make myself so busy with life, so busy with taking care of other people that I didn't have to face the things that were hurting me, those areas that, relationships that weren't good and that weren't upbuilding to me. And so I would just tire myself out, and then I would go to sleep and I would just ignore everything. Like, a good nap solves every one of my problems. But I'm learning now, as I try to embrace and embark on different projects in my life, that those feelings and those things that I had suppressed over the years, I have to address them. And my mission today is to share with someone how to release those walls early so that you don't have to suffer for as long as I did from the inability to receive love, the inability to fully expose myself to the world because I didn't want to get hurt. You know, I'm this tough girl. June can handle everything. You know, nothing can get to me. But in all actuality, I have been hurt by some people that have been closest to me, and that hurt has actually fueled me to be the person that I am. It has fueled me to push past limitation. It has fueled me to help people not to feel the pain and the devastation that I have felt. But I also realized that I have to deal with that hurt. I can't just sweep it under the rug. If I truly want to be used by God to minister to people, to be able to heal their wounds and to be able to set the captives free, then I had to take time out and I had to acknowledge my hurt. I had to acknowledge my disappointments. I had to acknowledge the things that, the times that people let me down. And the thing that allowed me to release that was a good cry. You know, crying, we also oftentimes equate crying to weakness or sadness, but I found that crying is a refresher. Crying has helped me to feel rejuvenated and relieved. It has helped me to embrace those harsh feelings. And so today I want to leave you with some tools that can help you if you're struggling with being vulnerable, if people have told you that you have walls up and they can't get to know you. I want to give you it seems very simple, but it's a very powerful tool that will help you realize the areas in your life where you need to be vulnerable, and it is journaling. If you could write down your feelings, if you could write down what you're dealing with on a daily basis, and now we have so many different techniques and options. We don't even have to, if you're not big on writing, you can record your message, your story and your message on camera. You could do a video journal. You can do a voice memo, whatever it is that you need, but you have to get those feelings out. Yes, Lori, journaling helps tear down your walls. And the thing I love about journaling is, for me, journaling was always, I didn't approach it as a diary. I approach my journaling as my prayers to God. And our relationship with God is the one place where you don't have to fear anything, where you can truly be vulnerable. And I will always start my journals out like, Dear God, I thank you for this day. I thank you for these feelings that I'm feeling. I thank you for even this hurt that I'm feeling. I am confused. Like, when I look back over my journals, the most vulnerable state of my life was when I was writing in my journal. There are things that I wrote in my journal that I forgot about. There are things that have happened in my life that, had I not recorded them, I wouldn't even have remembered them. There are things that I have shared with no one. I was just reviewing my journal the other day, and I came across a period in my life, a very difficult period in my life, and I realized that I almost had like a near-death experience, and I never shared it with anyone. And why didn't I share it? Because June was a strong girl. June was so busy taking care of everyone else at that point in time. She didn't even have the ability to share with her family that she almost died. You know, I got sick and my dad was sick and I had a little baby. So as soon as I got better, I had to get back on my feet and take care of my dad. I had to take care of my son. There wasn't any time for me to tell the world what had happened while I was in the hospital. But looking back on that journal, I realized, the feelings that I felt. I realized that had I not taken that opportunity, I probably wouldn't even have been healed. You know, some healing took place in my journal. There were conversations that I couldn't have with people because the relationship were ended, but I would write the feelings and the conversations out in a journal. It helped me bring closure to a lot of relationships. It helped me to forgive. Journaling helped me to forgive people that had hurt me. Journaling helped me to admit some of the feelings that I was dealing with. So if I could leave anything with you today, a key ingredient to overcoming your vulnerability would be to journal. Like I said, you might not be a writer, but you could do a voice memo. You can do a video, record videos of yourself and just keep them on your computer. It can be very private, but you need a place where you can be free to be honest and open with yourself. Thank you, Lori. Yes, I'm telling you, and I want to hear feedback on your journals. Now, I have been blown away this week by just reading my journals and seeing the state I was in at some points in my life. And I'm like, God, I truly, truly just thank you that I'm no longer there. There were certain points where I was like, you still writing about that same situation? It was 5 years ago. Some things have to change. And then there are even things that I found in my journal where I'm still struggling with those same areas today. And I had to pray again, that God would help me, because I don't want to go another 5 years dealing with the same things that I was dealing with 10 years ago, So this whole lesson right here on vulnerability has been a great lesson for me. I'm hoping that I can impact the world, but sometimes your message is truly for yourself, and you just have to get it out there, and you have to do what God called you to do. If you have no one to support you, you still have to do what God called you to do. And that is the ultimate test of vulnerability. Some people only want to do the work when they have 100,000 followers. They don't want to speak a message and there might be nobody in the crowd. But Jesus, he didn't care who was in the crowd. He said, I came to do my Father's work. And that's what I'm determined to do. And I just hope that each and every one of you that is watching, that you would get something from this message. Please share with me if you start your journal. Now, I will say you're going to get to a point where the journaling becomes difficult and you'll want to quit, but I pray that you would push past that point. I have a gap of a period of 7 years in my life where I didn't write because there was so much going on, and every time I would pick up the pen to go write, it would hurt. It was already traumatic to be living through those experiences, so to try to write it was like to address those hurts and those pains again. But when looking back, I'm a little disappointed because I have my life mapped out from 1993 up until 2007, and I wish I would have pressed past the hard point and journal even when it hurt, because that's a part of my history that I could share with my family, that I could share with my children. And so my message is to push to journal even when it hurts. If you only do it once a week, whatever it is, journal. Hey Dre, keep a journal and keep track of what you're feeling, because even on those bad times, I was able to look back and say, God, I don't feel that way right now. And then I had some wonderful moments in my life that I was able to fully document. I mean, sometimes like the birth of my son, I remember I wrote in my journal. I had in my journal when my mom passed away, things that God had spoken to me. I was only 13, but I was able to, in high school, I was able to capture those moments and to be able to remember them, because now looking back on a situation, some of the days are fresh, but other things are not so clear. So journaling, it's a freedom tool in itself. Like, I think it's highly unutilized, but if you want to embrace vulnerability at its purest point, it would be journaling, because you have to look at your life and you have to look at, as you're writing those words on a page, you have to look at the events and the decisions that you made, and it's going to make you say, oh, that wasn't a wise decision. Maybe I should try something different. So I just want to encourage you to journal. If you have to write your prayers down to God, whatever it takes, I want you to journal, because I am truly, truly on a mission to help people to lift themselves. I need the world to live in freedom and in truth. I am tired of seeing my friends and my family not living up to their full potential. I'm tired of people carrying around baggage and hurt and disappointment for 20 years. Like, life, God did not create life for that way. He created us to be free. He created us to be happy. He created us to love. He created us to have joy. He created us to have life and life more abundantly. And there is no way that you can have that life and that life more abundantly holding on to the hurt, holding on to the pain, the inability to open up your heart so that someone could love you. Like, there's no way you can do that. And the key to that today is to keep a journal of your feelings. I thank you guys for watching. I pray that you continue to have a blessed day. I hope that your Sunday was amazing. Just since last week, I have had an amazing being vulnerable, but I'm open. I'm out here. I'm doing what God has called me to do, and I want you all to do the same thing. Thank you, and have a good night.